I used to think losing my dad was the worst thing that could ever happen to our family. I was wrong. It started almost a year after he died. At first, it was little things. Liam forgetting the name of our childhood dog, a way he started buttering his toast differently, or how he suddenly hated peanut butter when he used to eat it straight from the jar. I brushed it off as grief. We were all going through it. Maybe people change when someone dies. Maybe they reinvent themselves, even subconsciously. But then he forgot my birthday. That had never happened before. Liam always made a big deal out of it. He'd wake me up with a pancake in the shape of the number of my age. It was silly, but it was our thing. This year, he didn't even say anything. "Hey, do you want to go to the mall or something?" He asked casually that morning. I blinked at him. "It's my birthday." He paused. "Wait, it is?" He looked genuinely confused. Not guilty. Not apologetic. Just blank. Mom quickly jumped in with the cake that afternoon, acting like nothing happened. She even scolded me later for making such a big deal out of it. But I knew something was off. Then came the photo albums. I was flipping through one in the attic, looking for an old picture of Dad and me in his fishing hat. I loved that photo, but the album was strange. It looked like someone had rearranged the photos. Some were missing. A few had new ones glued in awkwardly. Some even looked fake. And Liam, he looked slightly different in some of them. Like his eyes were a shade darker. His nose maybe a little straighter. I thought I was going crazy. I even Googled facial recognition tools, but couldn't bring myself to go that far. That night, I confronted Mom. "Why does Liam look different in some of these pictures?" She laughed. "Oh, come on. Photos fade. You're just being dramatic. That's your brother." But I wasn't convinced. I remembered Liam's chipped front tooth from when he fell off his bike in 2nd grade. The new Liam didn't have that. I checked. I even accidentally bumped into him to get a closer look. No chip. Something inside me twisted. One night, I stayed up and watched him from the hallway as he played video games. His posture was different. He didn't chew on his thumb like he used when he was focused. He cursed more now, and he never, ever used to curse. It wasn't just grief. It wasn't puberty. This wasn't my brother. But then the question hit me like a truck. If that's not Liam, then where's my real brother? And more terrifying, who was this person living in our house? After that night, I couldn't sleep. Every sound felt louder, every shadow longer. My mind kept replaying Liam's face, how calm he looked, how unfamiliar. The next morning, I searched his room while he was in the shower. I know how that sounds. I didn't want to be that person, but something primal had clicked inside me. I needed proof. I needed something that said, yes, you're not crazy. His drawers were mostly filled with regular stuff, socks, underwear, deodorant, random gum wrappers. But the bottom drawer stuck. Literally, it was locked. Who locks their bottom dresser drawer? Liam never did. He used to joke about how only serial killers lock furniture. I pulled on it again. Nothing. I tried a butter knife. Still nothing. That's when I remembered the set of old keys in Dad's tool chest in the garage. My hands shook as I tested each key. On the 4th one, click. The drawer creaked open. Inside was a manila folder. That's it. No passport, no knife, no diary, just a folder. I had opened it. Inside were a few documents. Some looked like medical forms, records for immunizations, dental x-rays, but they weren't Liam's. The name was different, Nathaniel Brooks. My breath caught. Birth date, same year as Liam. Height, almost identical. Blood type, different. What the hell? There was also a torn photo, half missing. The half I had showed a woman I didn't recognize holding a baby. On the back in faded pen. Me and Nate, 2009. Who was mate? I heard the shower turn off. Panic surged through me. I shoved the papers back, relocked the drawer, and ran out of the room like my feet were on fire. I didn't stop shaking for hours. That night at dinner, I stared at Liam, no Nathaniel, as he poured ketchup onto his fries. Mom was chatting about something boring like grocery store prices, but all I could hear was white noise. I wanted to scream, "Who are you?" But I didn't. Instead, I said, "Liam, what was the name of your 5th grade teacher?" He blinked. "Oh, Mrs. Harrelson." "Wrong. It was Mr. Trent." I looked at Mom. She didn't even flinch, just kept chewing her salad like she hadn't just heard a bomb go off. I knew right then she was in on it. She knew. The one who birthed me, raised me, kissed my scraped knees, she had lied to me. She had replaced my brother with some stranger and pretended nothing happened. But why? Where was Liam? Was he dead? Or worse, was he alive somewhere, locked away like some family secret? And who the hell was Nathaniel Brooks? I couldn't unsee that folder. The name Nathaniel Brooks felt like it was burned into the back of my eyelids. I'd replay the torn photo in my mind, the strange woman holding a baby, and the question scratched into my brain like nails on glass. Who was this kid, and where was my real brother? I decided to follow him. The next weekend, I told Mom I was staying late at the library to study. She didn't even ask questions, just nodded, barely looking up from her crossword. But in reality, I was sitting on the curb across from the skate park, watching Liam laugh with some friends. He wasn't a bad actor. He played the role well. Too well. That's what scared me. He used to be quieter, kind of nerdy, but now he was outgoing, cracking jokes, even flirting. He slapped one guy on the back and shouted, "Yo, Brooks, let's hit that trail again soon." My stomach dropped. Brooks. It wasn't just a name in a folder. Someone knew him as Brooks. It wasn't just in our house. He was living a double life. I followed him again a few days later, this time to an old gym on the other side of town. It was grimy, almost abandoned, with flickering lights and broken fencing around the parking lot. Not the kind of place Liam ever would have gone. I waited. An hour later, he walked out alone. I was parked in my neighbor's car across the street. Yeah, I lied and said my car broke down. I was already in too deep to care. He lit a cigarette. Liam never smoked. He used to gag when someone lit one near him. But here he was casually leaning against the wall, exhaling smoke like he'd done it 100 times. And then he spoke. He pulled out a phone and called someone. I couldn't hear everything, but I heard enough. No, I can't keep this up much longer. Yeah, she's starting to ask questions. I know, just not yet. My heart nearly stopped. He was talking about me. He knew I was suspicious. And worse, he was talking to someone else who knew too. Someone else who was part of this lie. That night, I snuck back into his room when everyone was asleep. I went for the drawer again, but it was empty. The folder was gone. He knew I had seen it. I felt exposed, like all the air had been sucked out of the house. I backed out of the room, tears threatening to fall. I didn't even know who I was crying for, my brother, myself, the lie I've been living. Back in my room, I texted the only person I could trust. "Can I talk to you? It's serious." It was my dad's old friend, Uncle Henry, though we weren't related. He used to work with Dad at the fire department, and he'd always looked out for us after Dad passed. He called me back instantly. "Hey, kiddo, what's going on?" I hesitated. "How well did you know Liam?" There was a pause. What kind of question is that?" "Please, just answer." "Well, I knew him since he was born. He was a good kid. Quiet. Loved puzzles." "Why? Would you recognize him now? Like if you saw him in person?" "Of course. What's going on?" I took a breath. "I don't think this is him." Uncle Henry didn't hang up. Instead, he drove over. I didn't even have to ask. He just showed out the front door 20 minutes later, hair still damp like he'd rushed out of the shower. We sat in his car in silence for a minute before I blurted it all out: the photo, the drawer, the name Nathaniel Brooks, the phone call, everything. When I finished, his face was pale. "I knew something was off," he muttered. I blinked. "What do you mean?" He looked around, then lowered his voice. "Your mom called me a few months ago asking weird questions, like if I remembered what Liam looked like as a kid. Specific stuff, like scars, birthmarks, what hand he used to write with." "Why didn't you say anything?" "I thought she was just grieving. People forget things when they're under stress." "But Liam isn't left-handed," I said quietly. "Nathaniel is." Henry nodded slowly. "And Liam had a mole on the side of his neck." I felt cold. "Nathaniel doesn't." There it was. Confirmation. From someone who wasn't me. I wasn't crazy. We sat in silence until I broke it. "Where is he, Henry? Where's my brother?" He shook his head. "I don't know, kiddo, but I think I know someone who might." He pulled out his phone and scrolled through his contacts. "There's a guy, Eddie. He used to work private security with your dad. Bit of a conspiracy nut, but he knows how to dig." An hour later, we were sitting across from a large man with a deep scar across his eyebrow in a cluttered office behind an auto shop. Eddie looked like he hadn't slept in a week and smelled like engine oil and coffee. He didn't waste time with pleasantries. "Tell me everything," he said. So I did. Again, and he listened. Every word. When I finished, he nodded once, cracked his knuckles, and muttered, "Sounds like a clean swap." "A what?" He leaned back in his squeaky chair. "Sometimes families replace one kid with another. Especially after trauma, you'd be shocked how often it happens in grief-stricken households." "But why?" "Sometimes it's mental breakdown. Sometimes it's guilt or protection. Depends who they're hiding from." I glanced at Henry. Could she be protecting Liam? "Maybe," Eddie said, "or maybe from him." "That shut me up," he continued. "I'll need access to your house. Trash, mail, anything you can snag. You get me something with his DNA, and I'll tell you exactly who he is." Henry added, "We'll say I came over to fix the sink or something. I'll distract them." I nodded, my heart racing. Okay. Eddie stood and handed me a plastic bag. Toothbrush, razor, hairbrush, anything used recently. Don't contaminate it. And kid, you looked me dead in the eyes. Be careful. If what you're saying is true, you're not living with your brother anymore. You're living with a lie. Getting the toothbrush wasn't the hard part. Acting like I wasn't shaking while I did it, that was. Henry came over the next afternoon as planned. Mom didn't seem suspicious. She offered him lemonade and joked about how the sink had been acting up again. Nathaniel, still playing the role of Liam, stayed upstairs most of the time, blasting music like always. Henry distracted her in the kitchen. I slipped into the upstairs bathroom and found the toothbrush right where I'd hoped, blue, slightly frayed, the same one Liam had been using for months. I dropped it into the evidence bag, sealed it tight, and hid it in the lining of my backpack. Mission accomplished. 2 days later, Eddie called. Got the results, he said. Meet me tonight and come alone. That sounded ominous, but I didn't argue. He met me behind the old church parking lot. Not shitty at all. Eddie didn't bother with greetings, just handed me a folder. I'd opened it with trembling fingers. DNA comparison. Sample A, toothbrush. His sample B, public record. Nathaniel Brooks. Match 99.98%. DNA comparison. Sample A is Liam Thompson. Birth record via hospital database. No match. My vision blurred. I had to sit on the curb. Eddie crouched next to me. He's not your brother, kid. His real name is Nathaniel Brooks. Born 3 towns over. Parents, unknown. Records show he was in the foster system until age 10, then disappeared off the grid. My throat tightened. So where's Liam? Eddie looked grim. That's the question. He handed me a second file. This was buried deep. Took some backdoor searching. It was a missing persons report filed 6 years ago. A boy named Liam Thompson, age 11, reported by his father. Filed 10 days before Dad died in a car accident. I froze. He knew, I whispered. Dad knew Liam was missing. Eddie nodded. Looks like it. But the weird thing is there's no follow-up. No record of police visits, no public alerts. The case just disappeared. Covered up, I murmured. Maybe, or someone made it disappear. I stared at the report. The last known location was our own backyard. Someone in that house knows what happened, Eddie said. And my guess? It's your mom. I couldn't breathe. Why would she do this? Why hide Liam's disappearance? Why pretend another boy was him? Why build a lie so massive it swallowed our entire family? Eddie's voice broke my spiral. You need to be careful. If she went this far to cover it up, she'll go further to keep it that way. What do I do? Play along. For now, let her think you don't know. And keep digging. I nodded slowly, gripping the file like it might vanish. Nathaniel Brooks wasn't my brother. My real brother had vanished 6 years ago. And someone, maybe the person who kissed me goodnight every evening, had erased him. It was hard to look at her the same way. Mom, the one who raised me, tucked me in every night, brushed my hair when I was little. Now every smile she gave me felt like a mask. Every hug, like it was meant to keep you quiet. I watched her more closely. She hummed while she made dinner like she always did. But now I noticed the pauses, the tiny moments where she stared off too long, the twitch in her hand when she chopped vegetables, the way she glanced at Nathaniel, like she was checking to see if he was still playing the part. I was playing too now. At dinner, I tried to act normal. Ate my spaghetti, asked about her work, pretended not to know that she'd erased my brother. So she said casually, anything exciting happened at school today? I almost laughed. Nathaniel chimed in before I could answer. Yeah, she got an A on her chem test. My eyes snapped to his. I never told him that. Neither did Mom. His face went blank like he realized it too late. He tried to cover. You mentioned it last week, right? No, I said. I didn't. A beat of silence. Mom coughed and reached for the water pitcher. Well, that's great, sweetie. I'm proud of you. Nathaniel looked down at his plate, and I knew he was getting updates from her. She was feeding him information to keep the lie alive. I stood up. I'm not hungry. Honey, wait. Mom reached for me, but I pulled away. I have homework. I didn't wait for a response. I walked upstairs and locked my door. Once inside, I texted Eddie. She's coaching him. He knows things I never told him. What do I do next? He responded a few minutes later. Stay calm. Play along. I'm pulling the hospital logs from 6 years ago. If he was switched, there has to be a medical trail. I'll call you when I know more. I put my phone down and stared at my wall. Then I noticed something strange. A photo on my shelf, me and Liam, maybe age 8 and 10. We were standing by a lake, soaked from head to toe, holding water balloons and grinning. Except now that I really looked, that boy didn't look like Nathaniel. Not even close. The shape of his jaw, the way his eyes curved when he smiled. It was him, my real brother. My hands trembled as I took the photo and flipped it over. In Dad's handwriting. Last summer before the storm, Liam's favorite spot. My chest ached. He knew. He remembered. Dad had written that just months before he died. That was the last time we were all together. Before everything changed, and if he knew, maybe he tried to stop it. Maybe that's why he died. That night, I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Liam's real face, the one in the lake photo. Not Nathaniel, not the imposter. My brother. I woke up before sunrise and went straight to the attic. If Dad had written that note on the back of the photo, maybe there was more. He wasn't the type to ignore something as huge as his son vanishing. And if Mom had gone this far to cover it up, maybe Dad had tried to stop her. I rummaged through old boxes. Dust choked the air, and the floorboards groaned under my knees. Boxes of Christmas ornaments, old school projects, a broken lamp, nothing. Then I found it, an unmarked cardboard box tucked behind a stack of old curtains. Inside were some of Dad's things, an old fire department uniform, a broken watch, a small leather-bound notebook, and a sealed envelope with my name on it. My heart stopped. The handwriting was his. I sat back against the wall and opened it slowly, carefully, like it might fall apart in my hands. If you're reading this, then something went very wrong. I'm sorry. I tried to stop her. I tried everything. Liam is gone, but not dead. I don't know where she sent him. I found the records. I confronted her. She said it was safer this way. I couldn't believe it. My own wife. And then, out of nowhere, this boy showed up. Nathaniel. She said he was better, said we could move on. But I can't. And I won't. I'm going to the police tomorrow. If I don't come back, keep this letter. One day, you'll need to know the truth. Don't let her lie to you. Find your brother. Dad. Tears slid down my cheeks. He knew. He tried, and he died the next day. I clutched the letter to my chest like it was the only real thing in the world. She killed him. Maybe not with her hands, but with what she did. With the lie she forced on all of us. And now she was living with it. Every day. Pretending. I left the attic quietly, heart pounding, and locked the letter in my desk drawer. Later that day, I walked past Nathaniel in the hallway. He smiled. Hey, you okay? I looked him dead in the eyes. You ever think about who you really are? He blinked. What? I didn't wait for a response. I just kept walking. I didn't talk to Mom for the next 2 days. I couldn't. Every time I looked at her, I saw betrayal. Not just lies, but the deliberate, calculated destruction of a life. Of Liam's life. And still she walked around the house like everything was fine. Watered the plants, folded laundry, asked if I wanted pancakes. Pancakes. Like that could make this go away. Nathaniel noticed too. He kept his distance. No jokes, no fake sibling bonding. He avoided eye contact like I could see through his skin. I could. He knew I was onto him, but he didn't know how much I knew. And I planned to keep it that way. Until I got a message from Eddie. We found something. Hospital records. There's a facility. Off books. Need to show you. We met that night in his truck. He tossed a file into my lap, hidden under a fake name. Same birth date as Liam. Same blood type. Registered at a private mental health facility 6 years ago in your mom's maiden name. My mouth went dry. So he's alive? Eddie nodded slowly. I think so. They moved him around a few times. Most recent location is a place called Briar Hill Institute. Middle of nowhere. Not on maps. No website. What kind of place is it? He looked grim. The kind where they hide people they don't want found. I wanted to scream. Liam had been locked away. Forgotten. Replaced. And I was eating spaghetti across from his replacement while my real brother sat behind locked doors. I have to go, I said. No. Eddie said firmly. You don't walk in there blind. We need a plan. I'm not waiting. I get that. But if you go charging in there, you'll scare them. Or worse, get yourself shut out. We do this smart. We gather proof. We go legal if we have to. Quiet. Strategic. I gripped the folder. What if she finds out what I know? Then you're in danger. I looked at him. From my mom? She already erased one kid. You're sure she won't erase another? We drove in silence for 2 hours. The road narrowed into gravel, then dirt. By the time we saw the gate, it was nearly midnight. Briar Hill Institute looked like an abandoned boarding school. Ivy crawled up cracked walls. The main building had no lights on. No security cameras, just a single locked gate with a faded sign that read P-Private P-PRT. No teary SPS saying, "This is it," Eddie said. We didn't speak for a while. I just stared through the windshield at the darkness beyond the fence. "You sure he's in there?" I asked. "No," Eddie admitted. "But everything points here. Last confirmed records, matching ID. And this place is buried under so many fake names it practically screams hidden. What do we do?" I'd already called in a contact. He's getting us inside. Quietly. I was about to ask how when headlights flared in the distance. A black SUV pulled up behind us. A man stepped out, tall, sharp features, wearing an unmarked badge clipped to his belt. "This is Chris," Eddie said. "Former DHS. Owes me a favor." Chris nodded once. "You've got 20 minutes. I can get you in and out. No alarms. But if anything goes wrong, I was never here." He popped the back of the SUV. Inside were security uniforms. "Put these on," he said. I stared at him. "Are you serious? You want to find your brother or not?" 10 minutes later, we were walking the halls of Briar Hill in disguise. The interior was even worse than outside. Peeling paint, flickering lights, a smell of antiseptic and mold. Chris led the way like he'd done it 100 times. "Patient wing is on the east side," he whispered. "Room 206. Go." I took a deep breath and pushed forward. Eddie followed behind me. Every creak of the floorboards sounded like a scream. When we reached the door, my hands were shaking. I knocked. Silence. I turned the handle slowly and stepped inside. The room was small, bare. A bed, a chair, a desk with nothing on it. And sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor, was him. I knew before he looked up. Same eyes, same face from the lake photo. Older now, thinner, pale. "Liam," I said, my voice cracking. He looked up, blinking, confused. "Do I know you?" My heart broke. "It's me," I whispered. "It's your sister." He stared at me like I was a dream, like his brain was trying to catch up to a reality it hadn't been allowed to feel in years. "Dad said, you come." And then he cried. And so did I. Liam didn't speak much on the way home. Not because he didn't want to, because he couldn't. Years of isolation, medication, silence. His words were slow, uncertain, like someone learning how to use their voice again. We kept it quiet. Eddie's contact had erased the hospital visit from the logs. It never happened. And Briar Hill? It shut down 2 days later. No official trace of him ever being there. Mom still didn't know. We had a choice, go straight to the police or wait. Liam didn't want courtrooms. He wanted home. He wanted pancakes. So we waited. We moved him into Henry's guest room, changed his name on paper, cleaned him up. He started talking more, slowly, hesitantly. The more he spoke, the clearer it became he remembered everything. How Mom started acting strange after Dad found out. How she drove him to a doctor, but never brought him back. How he waited and waited, until one day they told him no one was coming. That was the last time he cried, until he saw the lake again. The same lake from the photo. We took him there on a Sunday morning. No one else around, just us. He stood at the edge of the water for a long time, eyes closed, breathing deep like he was trying to prove he still could. Then he whispered, I thought I was gone. I hugged him. You're home now. We couldn't tell Mom until a week later. Eddie was with us. She opened the door and froze. Liam stepped forward. At first, she said nothing, just looked at him like she was staring at a ghost. Her face drained of color. Her body swayed. Then she whispered, you weren't supposed to come back. Silence. Eddie stepped forward. You replaced your son. You locked him away and pretended he never existed. I saved him, she said sharply. You don't understand if you saw things. After your father died. Dad died after you sent Liam away, I snapped. We know everything. We found the letter, the records, the DNA. Her lip trembled. I did what I had to. He was broken. No, Liam said, his voice shaking but steady. You were. She looked at me then at Liam. And what now? You leave, I said. You leave this house. This time you disappear. She didn't argue. She packed a bag and was gone by morning. Liam never asked where she went. We burned the fake photos, the folder, the lie. He changed his name back. Got a therapist. Started drawing again, just like when we were kids. Sometimes he still has nightmares. But now when he wakes up screaming, he doesn't do it alone. I moved his bed next to mine for the first few weeks, like we were kids again. Like we were rewinding time, healing it. Because that's what family does. It finds itself again. Even in the wreckage. Even after all the lies. Even when the person who broke it was supposed to love you the most.